So at this point, what I want to talk to you about is working with CSS3 2D transformations. There are possibility of three-dimensional transformation, 3D transformation. Don't get too excited. It's not Disney Pixar or anything like that, but it will allow you to, turn something in a three-dimensional fashion. However, what we're concentrating on right now is 2D transformations. So one of the things that you've already seen if you've taken a look at our finished project was the fact that here, when I rotated over our little frog, when I hovered over, excuse me, he started rotating. And basically what that is showing is a transform. Now the transform that I'm talking about is just rotation. But with transforms, there's something else that you can do with CS3, and that's add a transition, or in other words, animate the element as we change the transform value. So we'll see how to do just those things. But first, let me talk to you about what the transform can actually do. And as you've seen, it can change rotation of an item. It can also change the width and the height of an item, which allows it to scale larger or smaller. And if we wanted to, we could even animate those properties. So I could have made this thing rotate and grow larger. But I want to just point you to this little paragraph that we see over here, creating killer sites since 1998. And I'll use it to take the opportunity to describe how you can also skew an object. So let's go back to our code. And if you're following along and you're still with the little progress file that we've been working on, I'll just refresh this because I've still got the shadow on the text here. And you'll notice this thing is not animating. But I'm addressing you to the paragraph header, the one that's right here. So let's go back and take a look at the CSS style sheet. And within that style sheet, you'll see header paragraph. So here is our header paragraph. Let's do one thing in particular, and that will be, hey, let's give it a background color of something like 888. The 888 that we were using before. So we know that's a gray background color. If I save this, file save, Command S, Control S on a PC, I now come here and I'll preview this and we can see, oh yes, I can see that there happens to be a background color around this object. All right, well that's fine. But what I'm going to show you is, well, first let's see. It's a little tight around the edges, so I'm going to add a value, padding value, whatever. Let's say 10 all the way around, 10 pixels. So if I save this and we refresh in our browser, yeah, there you go. You see like a little bit of space around the object. Now that's all fine and dandy, but what if we wanted to skew this object? So in other words, have these vertical lines here become diagonal. How do we do that? Well, that's how we introduce the new transform. So I'm just going to paste in something that I had here, and I'm going to show you, just add a little bit of a comment at the top here. You'll notice I separated the two elements just by doing that. And let me just change the comment here, and I'll say 2D skew transform. All right, and well, as you might imagine, here is the property called transform. And what we're asking the transform to do is skew the object. Now, I want it to skew in this direction, much as the / on our comment is going. So that's why the first element that I have here says -20 degrees. And the -20 degrees is for the x-axis, and the 0 degrees is for the y-axis. So as you'll note, that's the first declaration here. Transform is the property, skew is the value, and we've given the initial values here of -20 for the x-axis, 0 for the y-axis. What that actually means here is how the object is going to be skewed. Now, since I'm going for a / skew, much like we see here in my / in the comments, -20 degrees is what I needed. But however, if you wanted a / looking skew, you could have just given this a positive value of 20. I don't really even need to have 0 degrees here. I could have just said minus 20 degrees and omitted the 0 degree if I wanted to, but I'm leaving them in just to show you that there are 2 different possibilities that we can work with. You'll also note by looking at these comments here that I'm going to have to give another 4 declarations of the transform so that it can work in every single one of these browsers. So in IE, and specifically in IE9, we're going to need MS transform. Firefox uses Mozilla or Moz transform. Safari and Chrome, WebKit. Opera, on the other hand, only has an O for Opera. All right, then let's now preview this in our browser. And if I just flip on over to my browser and hit the refresh button, check it out. What you see is a skewed background. So this paragraph, the background color is indicating what that paragraph looks like, is now skewed. And that opens up a whole set of possibilities as to what you can do when you're working with many, many different types of new CSS layouts. A whole slew of buttons up at the top here can have slanted elements in this skewed fashion. You can then introduce things like animated elements, rollovers, and different things along those lines. We'll see more of those things in the next video, and when we do, we'll explore the possibility of also introducing a means of animating those different types of transforms, as you've seen with the rotation. So come back in the next video and we'll take a look at CSS3 transitions.